This is BBC Radio Devon, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Bex. She said, don't call me Becky, call me Bex. Why is that then?
That's the name I like at the moment, but I'll probably like Becky again next week. So
fickle woman in the studio.
It is very fickle, yeah.
Tell me about your family, though, because your dad is a surgeon, your mum is an administrator, and they both help out a charity in Africa.
That's right. The charity's called Interface Uganda. And what we do is we aim to train and teach Ugandan medical personnel skills that they need.
If you go to bbc.co.uk/Devon and click on the story Rebuilding Lives, you can find out all about it. But keep listening to the radio because we'll tell you anyway. I'm going to ask you a really thick question now, but why is there such a need in Uganda?
There's a lack of training. There are lots and lots of people that we met that really want to be nurses, doctors, surgeons, physiotherapists, but there's not the right channels of education to allow them to become these things.
Because what we ought to say is your dad is a surgeon who goes out there every couple of years.
Yep, he goes for about 2 weeks at a time, and he operates on people, and there are literally hundreds of patients queuing when they know that surgical teams from the UK are coming. But he also trains Ugandan medics whilst he's out there too.
Because you've been out there to film for an awareness film, haven't you?
Yeah, for like a promotional film.
And was that your first trip?
Yes. Yeah, to Uganda.
So when you went with the camera, that was the first time you'd seen any of this? All of this was coming as a complete surprise to you. So take us, we've got on the plane, we've flown to Africa, and we're landing. What's the next thing that happened to you? Well,
it was boiling hot, so the heat kind of hits you straight away.
Where did you land?
We landed in Entebbe, which is about an hour from the capital city, Kampala. And I went with a surgical team from the charity, Interface Uganda. There was an anaesthetist from Birmingham, an occupational therapist who works at the RD&E, and my dad. And I also went with one of my best friends, Heather. She came along. We went literally straight from the airport to a clinic. And I remember within the first 10 minutes, my friend Heather actually fainted because of the heat and the tiredness from the plane, but she was just so overwhelmed by all the patients that were there.
Just tell me the sort of sights, sounds and smells when you got there.
There was screaming babies, there was desperation in the air, if that doesn't sound too strange. It was overwhelming, and straight away we got into the clinic and we got seeing people and giving them assessments, and operated the next day actually on some of the patients.
And the emotions in your head? Because for whatever the tales your dad told you, you couldn't have been prepared for what you actually saw.
No, not at all, not at all. I think there was just shock at how much we've got in this country compared to what they've got over there. I mean, the resources they've got is so basic. There's such a lack of equipment. And the hardest part was just, we knew we were there for 2 weeks and we knew we couldn't help all the hundreds of people that needed help.
I saw somewhere, I think it was on the website, where you said that the queue was as far as you could see.
Literally as far as we could see.
And what sort of people were queuing up?
People that had been walking for 2 or 3 weeks to get to us, to the clinics from the rural areas. They walked all the way to the cities just so that they could see a team and be assessed. There was mothers and babies, children, elderly people, everyone. And we saw all sorts of tumours, burns, cleft lip and palates.
How did you manage to divorce yourself from everything that was going on around you? Because when you're filming in those situations, you've sort of got to catch everything that's going on, but not let yourself be drawn in, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, some people that do that have been in the film industry, they've been filming for years, and this is your first film, and all of a sudden I know what I'll do, I'll go to Uganda.
It was something like that, yeah. I think it was because I knew that I was so lucky to be out in Uganda, and I wanted to be able to show all the fundraisers and volunteers that the charity has in England what life is like for the people and where their money goes when they fundraise for us, and why there is a massive, massive need. So I had that objective, and I really wanted to get the best shots I could to show the people back at home that hadn't been out to Africa. And I ended up getting 20 hours of tape because I just wanted to get everything in case there was anything I missed. Then I just ended up putting together a 20-minute promotional DVD.
How did you manage to edit 20 hours into 20 minutes? How did you decide which bits hit the cutting room floor?
A lot of blood, sweat and tears went into that, I think.
How long did it take?
About a year. Not constantly, obviously, but lots of evenings
sleep,
and weekends. But no
walk,
food,
no
nothing.
School. All I can do is edit this film.
Didn't see any of my friends. I just stayed at home, locked myself away. No.
This is your first time out in 4 years, isn't it?
It is, actually. I saw the daylight for the first time. But no, it took about a year on and off, yeah.
And what's been happening to the film since then?
Well,
where does it go?
I thought we were going to get about 10 copies made. I was going to burn them myself, just 10 DVDs. And then my lovely mum saw it and she was like, I think we'll get 50 copies. No, 100. No, 120. No, 150 we'll get. So,
Mother, calm down, for heaven's sake. Because your mum is an administrator for the charity.
She is, yeah.
But she's based here.
She is based in Exeter, yeah.
So what's her role in it all?
She kind of does all the organising, and she books flights for the Ugandan medics to come over to England to get some idea of how we do things in England. They can take back the ideas to Uganda. And she also collects equipment from various UK hospitals, and she and lots of other volunteers pack it in a 40-foot container. And they've done 5 of these massive, massive containers filled with medical equipment from syringes, beds, wheelchairs, all that's kind of redundant in England but can be used in Uganda. And they ship all these containers out every year.
You're buzzing, aren't you?
I am. I love talking about this charity.
I
do.
Has it changed you when you came back to England? Did it change you?
Yes, it did. It's really strange. It wasn't so much a culture shock going from England to Uganda, but when I came back from Uganda, it was the week before Christmas, and I'd been out for 6 weeks.
And the sun was shining.
As always, yeah. I come back from, being in boiling, boiling hot country to freezing cold England. And I think Mum and I went to Tesco the next day. And because it was the week before Christmas, it was filled with shoppers and just all different kind of Christmassy things. And I just burst into tears in the middle of the store. I was literally hysterical because I couldn't believe how much stuff we had here, especially like Christmas crackers. I just remember looking and thinking, why do we need them when the people in Uganda have so little but are still so content, really?
Let's get a little political.
Okay.
Because just this last week, there's been all this fuss about the NHS.
Sure.
And the way we do things and the way the Americans do things. Your dad works for them.
He does.
What do you know about the NHS? I mean, do you think that it's a good thing?
As a health service to have a national... I think it's a fantastic thing.
Do you think we do well here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's brilliant because in Uganda, a lot of the healthcare is private, so the patients have to pay for themselves. And that's where we come in. We try and give them the funds so that they can pay for the operations that they need. But I think we're so lucky in this country to have the NHS.
When you see those queues and they're backing off as far as you can possibly see, and you know you're just not going to be able to treat all of the people that are in that queue, how do you pull down the shutters? How do you say, sorry, we're going to treat you, but you'll have to wait until the next time?
It was one of the hardest things I've ever seen my dad and the other medics that went out there have to do, because there are some patients that you just cannot treat. And even though they worked from about 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. most days, like 12-hour days, there still was so many patients we couldn't see. And I remember one patient on the first day we saw, the mother came in with a baby. It was about a year old, but it looked about 2 months old. She was absolutely tiny. And she had a cleft lip, which is where your lip kind of meets your nose. And she couldn't drink properly because any milk that she had came out of her nose, and she was so malnourished.
Is that the baby pictured on the website?
No, that was one we managed to treat, but this baby we couldn't treat because she was just so small. Any anaesthetic she wouldn't have been able to take it. And I just remember thinking, you just can't help everybody, but we try and help as many people as we can.
There is a certain thing, isn't there? A certain inbuilt impetus, if you like, that gets people to do these things, like your dad going out every couple of years, like you going out and seeing. Because I've been to the Gambia.
Oh, have you?
And I've seen similar conditions to you. Although when you go on a trip like that, you sort of see the better bits of it.
Yeah, nicer side.
But you go to schools where they've got no money and the children are begging and you want to give them money, and you come away from there thinking, that's it, I'm going to give all my wages to those. You never do.
No.
It takes a certain person to actually make that step into actually doing something and helping them out.
Yeah, it does. But I think that there are so many people in England that have volunteered for us since 2001 when we set up. And I think there are people that, even though they've never actually been to Uganda, they give just as much by staying in England and fundraising for us every year when they have like cream teas or like concerts or something for us. And that money goes to the people that really need it.
What about the recession? Has it made a difference to the amount of fundraising you can do?
Not at all. We had our information evening a couple of weeks ago, which is an annual thing, and my film was played there. And one of the people that are going out in September, an occupational therapist called Neil, he's cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats in a couple of weeks. And my mum put out a bucket and just said, anyone just put any spare pennies in here and, Neil will have them, add them to his fundraising. And £450 was collected by the end of the night.
Fantastic.
And we are in the midst of a recession, and we could still manage that. So.
And what about your fellow students? What do they think of you in the film?
Oh, they haven't seen it.
They haven't seen it? No. You keep your light under a bushel after all this effort.
Well, I've been stuck in the dark for the last 4 years editing.
Oh, yes, I forgot. You've only just got out, haven't you?
I haven't been able to show them.
And the future for you then?
Hopefully get into the world of media. That's my dream.
I've got a fantastic idea. I've had no breakfast, no lunch. So if you want to come and sit here...
Yeah, works for me. I'd love to, yeah.
Okay. I thought you had a train, or does that not matter anymore?
No, cancelled.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, if you just press that button there.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Wake up one morning, you realize